This is phylum Echinodermata coloring for Biology 11, as well as some of our lab labeling diagrams. I've started out by pre-coloring some of the diagrams. Echinoderms are a very diverse phylum. So we'll start by talking about pentaradial symmetry, which I've done some numbering in red. It's not exactly something we can color, but pentaradial means that echinoderms are commonly arranged in 5 parts or multiples of 5. So I've gone around and numbered our sand dollar. He has 5. Our bat star has 5. This one here, the sea urchin, this one's pretty hard to number, but if you take a look on the bottom of the sea urchin, I've numbered its rows of tube feet, and we see that it has 10. Feather stars and these other ones, crinoids, are hard to count. This one I feel like I counted pretty accurately and got 40. This one I got 7, so I'm thinking likely 10 because there's probably 3 along the back side. My sea cucumber here, I get 4 rows of tube feet for sure, and there would be 1 on the bottom, so I could see it being 5. And at the top where its gills and feathers are, I see 6, so I'm thinking likely 10. This is a brittle star. It has 5. And just to show you another couple examples, I've got 2 sun stars here, the big orange ones, and I've counted up several different pictures and they all seem to be missing at least 1 ray. So this one counts to 19 and this one counts to 14, but I think we can assume it's probably a 20 and a 15 and maybe it's lost an arm. And then this sea urchin, this is the inside of a sea urchin, which is this guy. Makes it a little easier to see that it's obviously got 5 distinct parts. Okay, the next piece we can talk about, but is not exactly easy to color, is our endoskeleton. And the endoskeleton is on the inside, so I'm just going to show you some pictures first. Here's an example of the endoskeleton. Our sea star has plates, and the plates are what allow the sea star legs to move and bend. And this is the inside here, the skeleton of a sea urchin, and you can see that it's got rows and divided into parts, and it would make up parts of 5, so maybe 20 on that sea urchin. The only place on your diagrams that I can show you endoskeleton is if you go down to your second page on your internal diagram, right down to the bottom of our internal starfish here, with the ray that's dissected in half, there is some endoskeleton there. Usually it's not drawn, it's not easy to see, it's just important for you to understand that echinoderms are our first phylum that actually has a skeleton on the inside. And we'll be coming back to all these other labels later, so you'll have a chance to pause later to get those labels down. The next system I would like to talk about is our tube feet. Here I've done them in pink. These are on the undersides of your echinoderms, and they're tiny suction cups. These extend and help the echinoderm move around on the ground. So in our sand dollar here, they're all inside these grooves. Our bat star is not upside down, so I can't draw them on here, but this sea urchin, you can see them, they're like little suction cups. And this sea urchin as well, I've covered in our tube feet here. Our sea cucumber has them arranged into rows, so you can just outline along there. And it's very, very hard to see them on this brittle star. So I'll show you some pictures of the actual tube feet. This is a brittle star. This guy's a brittle star, which is the same as that one. Its tube feet are very easy to see. They're the bright blue. This is just a regular sea star. This is like the kind that we would dissect, and all of these little pieces that are coming up with the little bulb on the end, that's a tube feet. This one is the most obvious, I think. These little suction cuppy parts, you can tell it uses them for moving and walking. And our sea cucumber has the same all over at the bottom on each of the rows. So that is tube feet, another characteristic of echinoderms. The fourth characteristic we're going to talk about is the water vascular system. All echinoderms have this, but it is an internal feature, so I'm going to have to move to our diagram below. I'm going to do one coloring on this one, and I'll do the other one when we get to the lab part. So the water vascular system includes the tube feet, and these grooves. Okay, and when we get farther along in our lab write-up labeling, we'll talk about water vascular systems. So this is actually, we can label our water vascular system now. I'm going to move on to our water vascular system picture here. So pretty much everything on this picture would be colored. Okay, we'll start in with our labels. This one here, this is a ring canal. It goes around the center of our starfish. Each arm of the water vascular system has a radial canal, so that's this piece here. Okay, next piece here, we're pointing right at the bottoms of these look like a little eyedropper or a turkey baster bulb with the little suction on the bottom. This is the tube feet. This part at the top here, this is called the madreporite. I've got a smaller, finer pen here. Sometimes referred to as the sieve plate. And this is a new word for us, so the plan for the madreporite is to bring H2O into the water vascular system. Okay, our last parts to color in are all these bulbs here. The bulbs are referred to as ampullae. That's plural. One would be ampulla. And the job of the bulb is to create suction and pull water into the bulb so that the foot can extend. So almost like a hydrostatic system. Okay, if we wanted to color all of our water vascular system in, we would be covering every piece of this diagram. Oh, and this last one that didn't get labeled, this is the stone canal. And that connects the madreporite from the outside of the starfish to the inside to bring water into the starfish. So that is our water vascular system up here in blue. And the last piece we'll talk about is spiny skin. All echinoderms have some sort of spines. So they're all very rough feeling. So if it's a sand dollar, you can just see them around the edges. I didn't want to have to shade in the entire bit of our diagram, but I think the spiny skin's fairly obvious. Sea urchins for sure. Spines everywhere. Our sea cucumbers as well. These sea urchins. Brittle stars. Okay, so all of these have spiny skins. The feather stars don't really look like they have spines on them, but they are still a feature of our Echinoderm phylum. Okay, now we'll move on to your sea star diagrams. So the labels that I'm using for these diagrams are from your sea star lab, your Echinodermata lab that looked like this. So I've already labeled for you on my pictures. We'll go back to, I've done the external surface, I've done the internal and digestive, and I've done part of reproduction, and we also did the water vascular system just now. So if I'll go back to those, they are some color coding, so you can pause at any time to take down your labels. And I just want to talk about the madreporite again. This is a picture of how it actually appears on a starfish. It's usually slightly set off center. This diagram isn't quite as good, and the anus, which is the dark blue, is centered directly above the mouth. So the way to find the anus on a starfish is actually to turn it over and put, assuming it's a preserved specimen, if you put your dissecting pin into the mouth, it will pop out at the anus. The bottom parts of this starfish I've also done here, the ambulacral groove. Again, this is part of where our tube feet go. I've got mouth is on the bottom surface. Our internal arm of our starfish here, where we've cut open and looked at the inside. I've got our parts labeled with our digestive gland in green, our cardiac stomach, our pyloric stomach. So the cardiac stomach is pink. It sits on the top. It's more of a storing stomach. The pyloric stomach, I've done this teal color. It's more underneath and is for digesting. If you remove the digestive glands out of the arm, underneath them sit the gonads for making egg and sperm. And then I've got the picture of our water vascular system colored in. I just want to talk a little bit about starfish feeding. Starfish will wrap their legs around a clam and extend their tube feet and pull the clam open. And then they will extend or evert their cardiac, should be a C there, cardiac stomach into the clam, and then they'll pull it back inside when they've done some digesting and can fit it back in. Okay, so those are all the labels for the internal. And then our last set of labels was the water vascular system, which is we did when we talked about the 5 parts of our starfish. Okay, the next thing that you would be doing now for your starfish assignment is to go to the Echnioderm lab, which I have taken out the lab materials, but I've left in some reading. So parts that have important reading for you to answer your question: feeding, reproduction, the water vascular system. And then here are your Echnioderm questions. This is going to be your assignment for next day.